There are only a few political events a year that we remember 5, 10 years down the line. And this weekend was one of them, in a move that completely shocked not only the world, but put the entire future of the international order at risk. The United States under Donald Trump executed a military operation in Venezuela that captured or kidnapped President Nicolás Maduro and brought him to the United States. It was not due to an extradition treaty. It was simply a military strike followed by the abduction of a sitting head of state. Maduro's a terrible guy. He's been horrible for Venezuela, but this can't be the way that countries operate, or it is complete anarchy and chaos. Now, we'll get to the legality. The early hours of January 3rd saw U.S. forces launch what the administration is calling Operation Absolute Resolve. It was a strike across Venezuela. There were air attacks around Caracas. And within hours, elite U.S. special forces had seized Nicolás Maduro and his wife, flown them out of the country, transported them to New York, where federal prosecutors had criminal charges waiting. And this morning, Maduro was brought to court. Trump immediately framed it as a law enforcement action, saying it was justified by American narcotics laws, that a superseding indictment against Maduro for narco-terrorism and cocaine conspiracies justifies this, but context and law matter. Now, we're going to go through this step by step because there is a lot today. First of all, put aside your opinion about Maduro, put aside your opinion as to what Donald Trump's ultimate goal is here. We have a number of problems with what Trump did if we care about law and order and the rule of law. And remember, this is the peace president who wasn't going to get us into any new entanglements. Number one, no congressional authorization. Under the Constitution, only Congress can declare war and authorize major uses of military force. Kidnapping the sitting president of another country is a use of military force. Trump didn't do it. Number two, United Nations Charter violations. So quaint. I know Trump doesn't give a damn about that, but international law is clear. States may not use force against the territorial integrity or political independence of another state unless authorized by the UN Security Council. That was not authorized. This was an armed attack, not authorized by the UN Security Council. That violates international agreement. Number three, sovereign immunity and head of state protection, even when accused of crimes. Sitting presidents typically enjoy sovereign immunity. Trump knows that, and that is the protection of removal by foreign powers. That's why extraditions involve negotiated legal processes rather than military raids. We didn't have that. And then, of course, the extraordinarily dangerous precedent, because now you've got global authorities from Russia to whoever else condemning this. The U.S. has lost the moral high ground. And of course, this raises questions about, well, who is next? And by the way, Trump has an answer to that question. Hint, it's Cuba and Colombia. So bottom line, nothing that Trump or the administration have said about this kidnapping make it legal. Trump says the U.S. is going to run Venezuela. Trump can't even run the United States. He thinks he's going to run another country. And meanwhile, the oil companies that were involved, that were invited to help, seem to want nothing to do with it because the infrastructure in Venezuela is so dilapidated. So bottom line here, Maduro, terrible guy. I would love Maduro out, but we really have to think through the justifications. If this was about narco trafficking, why has Trump pardoned other narco traffickers? If this was about getting an authoritarian out of power, Trump loves authoritarians, just not Maduro. He loves Putin, Kim Jong-un, Viktor Orban, Duterte back in his era. So we know it can't be objectively about authoritarianism. If this was about, regime change, well, they got rid of Maduro, but they left the entire regime in place and in charge. So it can't really be about that. And if it was about the oil, which maybe it was, it seems that the American companies that would be necessary in order to pursue the oil aren't really interested in pursuing it. So there are major legal and other questions here. But the biggest one is that even though if you're an anti-authoritarian, if you are for an independent judiciary, if you are for independent media as opposed to not controlled by the state, If you're for any of the things that progressives should be for, you would, of course, look at Chavez and now Maduro and say, this is very bad. I am against these regimes. But if the United States can unilaterally abduct a foreign leader, fly him back to U.S. soil, then no head of state is safe anywhere. And that is not a rhetorical claim. That is simply a shift in how global power could operate. And it would not be a way that strengthens American interest. It will set a precedent for other powers like Putin or China to exploit. Now, we are going to delve into some of the other potential explanations as to the motivations here. But there is a belief among some that this is part of sort of a deal that Putin and Trump not necessarily shook hands on, but there was a kind of look the other way. Trump will look the other way when it comes to Ukraine and allow or even support a quote peace agreement in which Russia keeps a bunch of Ukrainian land. If Putin looks away from its ally Venezuela when Trump wants to go in there and do who knows what, including kidnapping the president of the country. So that is a possibility here. That is a sort of silent quid pro quo. And the importance of that is that it opens the door for China to now go into Taiwan. And what sort of moral high ground would the United States have to say, no, sir, you can't do that after Trump went into Venezuela? So there are far-reaching foreign policy implications here. The bottom line is that once you weaken the rules against cross-border force, others are going to be doing the same, and they're not going to do it with benevolent intentions. So there are MAGAs saying, what bold leadership from Donald Trump. This is quite literally the unraveling of the rule of law itself. And there is new reporting about one of the potential underlying motivations for Trump to do this, and it involves dancing. You've got to see this.